Hello and welcome to today's streaming media webinar sponsored by Nice People at Work, Edgeware, Qligent, and SSIMWAVE. I'm Eric Schumacher Rasmussen. I'm the VP and editor of streaming media, and I will be your host and moderator today for our webinar called Advanced Data and Analytics. Before we get started, just a couple of program notes. We will have a live Q&A session at the end of the presentations, but you can ask your questions at any time during the event by entering your question in the Q&A box provided and then hitting the submit button. I will read audience questions to the speakers, and if your question isn't asked during the event, we will get you an answer offline once the event is over. Also, this webinar will be archived within 24 hours for on-demand viewing, and the presentation will be available as a PDF download once that archive is posted. You'll receive a notice when the archive is available. Finally, just for participating in today's webinar, you're entered into a drawing to win a $100 Amazon gift card. And the winner of that will be announced on streamingmedia.com. And of course, we will also notify the winner directly. So with that, our speakers today are going to be Ruben Senor Megias, who's the Chief Sales Officer at NPAW, Nice People at Work. Peter Sergeil, Director of Business Development for Edgeware. Rick Eksten, Chief Executive Officer at Qligent, and Dr. Abdul Rahman, who's the Chief Executive Officer at SSIMWAVE. And with that, we're going to begin things by each of our speakers giving a brief presentation about who they are, what their company does, and how it relates to the topic today. And then we're going to dive into our roundtable discussion. So with that, I'll pass the event over to Ruben. Ruben.
Hello, my name is Ruben Senor Megias. I'm happy to attend that webinar. I'm presenting here for Nice People at Work. Nice People at Work is one of the leading video intelligence and big data companies. And we are video experts since 2008, and we are processing more than 100 billion plays per year. We are nearly integrated with all existing players available in the market, but we also having third-party integrations with dedicated CDN vendors, with companies doing video analytics, but also all the other players available in the end-to-end chain. We are tracking more than 197 countries, and of course we are certified in terms of GDPR and CDPA compliance worldwide with more than 5 certificates, because customers own their own data, and you need to find always the mode and the way of working in terms of being compliant in terms of GDPR and CDPA. So what we're doing is that we monitor and manage the complete user journey from a navigation perspective, up to a consumption perspective. So meaning not only the user behavior and the engagement of the users, we also manage the platform performance across all the different elements from a network analytics perspective, but also with partners from a video analytics perspective. We also do customer care, so customers are using dedicated dashboards from our customizable tool, to manage their end consumers. We are also doing what we will also discuss potentially later is that we combine QoE, QoS with UI and UX to have a complete 360-degree overview. Of course, we do also the ad efficiency overview, and content catalog and content discovery methodologies is also something we're doing. So from the beginning to the end, we see exactly what the customer is doing and what is the quality. So like I mentioned, we are having a 360-degree view, meaning we have the user behavior and engagement, like I mentioned, the platform performance. So we see the customer completely, not only from a technical layer perspective, also from an app performance perspective, we see the complete journey. So Nice People at Work, one of the leading video intelligence and big data companies with more than 170 customers worldwide. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruben. Our next speaker will be Peter Sergeil from Edgeware. Peter.
Yes. Hello, my name is Peter Sergeil. Very glad to be on this webinar. I have 20 years of experience in the telecom and media industry, but also within artificial intelligence solutions. Edgeware has a lot of experience too, and we have built more than 200 TV CDNs globally, mainly for telcos, where we delivered the hardware for the CDNs. And in this process, we've learned a lot about TV distribution, and CDN deliveries. The past few years, we've been focusing on solutions ranging from subtitling with the brand Cavena, origin solutions with segmentation, packaging, and ingest. But also what this seminar is all about is about CDN orchestration and content delivery orchestration. We made a survey together with Dan Rayburn where we asked 250 video streamers in the world what they think about QoE and performance in the networks. And no surprise, everyone understands that QoE is extremely important to maintain customers and keep them happy, and that is the most important thing. The summary of this solution and also our analysis of that summary is that monitor QoE network issues is really important. Monitor everything that you can from all the platforms you have. Could be in-client solutions, could be server-side solutions, and try to identify these problems. But one key aspect of this is to do this as fast as you can, preferably in real time. And then diagnose potential quality of experience problems that you have and isolate them so that you can focus on the right problems in real time, and thereby also being able to automate your customer care and customer services by knowing exactly what is wrong with the delivery if someone have a problem. And the last point here is to fix the QoE problems. And there, to be able to do that, you need to be really fast. And this is actually to be actionable on the data before the customer's video buffers run out, so that you can switch them to a better delivery path before they notice everything. And with being in a position of server side inside the network, it's also very easy and fast for time to market for new services like anti-piracy, A/B testing, and such. This is exactly what the Edgeware solution StreamPilot does. It's trying to bridge the gap from all of the data that you have gathered from the customers in real time, and also execute and mitigate potential problems before the end users notice anything. And with other problems that we can identify, we present them as intelligent alarms to the operator so that they can also act upon those. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Peter. Our next speaker will be Brick Eksten, the Chief Executive Officer of Qligent. Brick.
Hi, thanks, Eric, and thanks for having me on the webinar. I'm glad to be here. My name is Brick Eksten. I'm the CEO of Qligent. A lot of the audience may know me from my tenure at Imagine, and before that, Digital Rapids. I've been in and around the industry for about 25 years, with experience from film to broadcast television and OTT. The company is really focused on a slightly different take on QoS and QoE. We look at QoS and QoE from source to destination, inclusive of all the production side of the network. And we do that by integrating directly with the equipment that's producing the content, through the content supply chain, through all the systems that are being deployed to manage the content processing, through distribution across the network and out to the audience. And we try to roll all of this up in real time to help our customers make the right decisions. And primarily what our customers are looking for today is a breadth of insights and analytics that spans everything from system level management of their resources to make sure that they have costs aligned with what they're producing, to audience level insights to understand how they can mitigate things like churn and audience acquisition. Our technology is, our history and our technology is deep in the broadcast sector. That's the root of our technology stack. We've expanded that through several deployments that we've done through high-scale telcos. We've done a lot of work with both small and large broadcast networks, and like I said, our strength is integration into the existing systems. You know, what we've noticed is that as our customers, who are predominantly broadcasters, as they move into cloud, they start to lose tangible access and control for the systems they deployed. And so we help them by bringing all of the sort of operational insights into a single dashboard so that they can monitor those systems truly from end to end. We roll all this up into a set of analytics. Typically, those are built custom for the operator to help them and to help their different operational departments understand what's happening in any delivery. We cover QoS, QoE, and full compliance, which means we have the typical record, monitor, share, but as well as insights across all the different types of deliveries our customers are doing. A big part of what we do is deliver on ensuring that our customers meet their internal and external standards. This is also a gap as our customers move into the cloud. Using third-party systems a lot of times is sometimes hard to see exactly what your what level of QoE you're achieving, and we help to resolve all that into a single dashboard that our customers can operate to help them meet their service agreements. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Brick. And our next speaker is Abdul Rahman, the CEO of SIMWAVE. Abdul.
Thank you, Eric. SIMWAVE team has been working on the topics of measurement and optimization of your experience for more than 20 years. Our team
Abdul, I'm going to interrupt Abdul and ask if you...
the most commonly used metrics in the industry. So that's it. Sorry?
Yeah, I hate to interrupt, but you're very faint. Could you please speak up a little bit?
Yeah, so is it better?
Yes, that's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So what you see on this slide, this is possible today, and this is the future of television that we are enabling. So you can deliver viewer experience on demand for every single viewer, and for that you need something that is actionable and advanced metrics. And what we do is trace viewer experience all the way from content creation to consumption, and with viewer first. So you can see the delivery chain is laid out in reverse. So display devices are on the leftmost side because viewers are the most important part of this whole delivery chain. And if a viewer or a set of viewers are not happy, what you want to do is you want to trace that back all the way to content creation as quickly as possible, so you can mitigate, as one of the speakers mentioned previously, Peter, you want to mitigate any issues in real time as quickly as possible. So we have the breadth and the depth of the technologies that are needed to understand viewer experience in great detail through tracing viewer experience all the way from creation to consumption. Now that is the simplicity of the platform, which looks like this. So as you know, the video delivery chain is complex, and you need actionable metrics. The real test of metrics is their ability to automate resolution of issues. There are two key ingredients required to achieve control of viewer experience. There's the eyes part and the brain part. The eyes part need to look at the viewer experience in depth, the way viewers would perceive it, and the brain part would take those metrics and act on that. And like I said, the real test is of a metric in its ability to drive decisions in real time. So there are two types of decisions that we drive: operational applications and optimization applications. So operational applications allow you to have end-to-end visibility, root cause analysis, reduce mean time to resolution significantly, do QA, QC, look at compliance and other aspects. And then the optimization applications enable you to deliver desired experience that I talked about previously as cheaply as possible to every single viewer on a per view, per viewer or subscriber, per content, or per device basis. So let's look at very quickly what our year looked like in 2020. So we have been monitoring more than 10 million hours of video every month. So that's on the operation applications that I talked about, and on the optimization applications, we have been partnering with top SVODs to help them create the best possible looking content for more than 130 million viewers out there. Aside from that, we have released various industry first capabilities to help resolve some of the key problems that are often talked about, including lip sync issues, macro blocking issues that are based on watching pixels or processing pixels, that are foolproof ways of measuring macro blocking, latency measurement, HDR measurement, including Dolby Vision certification, and then taking all of these metrics into that brain to drive delivery of desired experience as cheaply as possible, which is what we call VQ-dial. So thank you for having me on this, and I'd love to answer questions.
All right, thank you, Abdul, and to all of our speakers. The next portion of today's event is going to be, imagine yourself at a conference watching a panel. I'm sure we'd all prefer to be doing that than continuing to do these events virtually, but I'm so glad we're able to get us all together here today online. I'm going to ask each of our panelists some questions, and of course, all of them will have a chance to follow up as we go around the room, so to speak. And I'd like to start with Brick. Brick, why is it important to monitor and analyze quality of service and quality of experience across the entire distribution chain, all the way from content to consumer?
Thanks, Eric. I think we start by quantifying the two terms. Quality of experience for us as we think about what goes into any content deliverable starts with, all the work that you do, all the engineering you do up front to make sure that you're creating the highest possible quality of content. Quality of service is everything that's underneath that supports your quality of experience. It's everything from the systems you run, the choices you make, the settings, the optimization in terms of infrastructure, the spend, your third-party partners and networks, and then finally down to the player architecture, whatever that might be, whatever the viewing environment might be for the consumer. And this is where the challenge comes in. One of the biggest complaints that we hear from the broadcast sector is that, on the one hand, as traditional broadcasters, they're not really in touch with the audience. And their SLAs today end at the end of their network. So they might, distribute through a cable partner or through satellite or some other means. And they really lose sight of, what the quality of experience is as it pertains to, the asset that they've delivered to the consumer. As they transition into cloud, what they're finding out is that this is, there's a cost associated with cloud and the downstream networks, which is something they don't think a lot about today as they're considering moving towards a direct-to-consumer model. And the realization that comes out of this is that their SLA, their guiding light, right, the contract of the quality that they deliver no longer ends at the end of their production chain. It ends only when there's a consumer who's receiving that content, whatever that means, whether it's television or mobile or some other way, set-top box. So, monitoring QoE means that, from selecting vendors and selecting all the different aspects of engineering that goes in up front is something that they're very familiar with. The QoS part, where it extends out, especially as it extends out into third parties and across CDNs and across all these things, is very hard to control unless you happen to be the telco who owns the entire network. And as we move closer to this direct-to-consumer model, and that contract for your deliverable now lands squarely with the consumer, who's perfectly willing to choose another vendor or choose another service, if they have that option, they're voting with their wallets. And the number one feedback that we get from our customers right now is, they can choose all the right settings. They don't feel like the technology of creating the right quality is the biggest problem. They feel like the quality setting, the effort they're putting into quality up front is being somewhat compromised by the services that they're delivering over. And in order to get in front of that, they need the tools that allow them visibility from start to finish. From start, obviously, on the production side, they need to understand how to control cost. But on the network side, they need to understand which partners are actually delivering for them. And if there's a challenge on the consumer side, what can they do to mitigate that? Because it costs far less to prevent churn than it does to reacquire a customer. So it's really important that, as we think about how this industry is going to move to direct-to-consumer, that we start to think about how that contract for quality extends all the way out to the consumer end device. What do we need to do to understand all the different permutations of quality impact that can happen along the way? And how does that roll up into insights that we need to consume as operators so that we can make the best choices in our content delivery?
Well, that actually leads nicely into the next question, which is for Peter from Edgeware. So Peter, how can you get that collective view of both QoS and QoE data, including CDN and network performance, processed and presented, and this is important, in real time?
Yeah, that is a very good question, Eric. So thank you for asking that. Our solution, our cloud service Stream Pilot, has a very unique position where it sits server side in the middle of the network, in the control plane above the CDNs, orchestrating all of the end user traffic that is going on in the network by just redirecting video segment by video segment. Important to remember here is that our solution does not deliver any video. It only directs traffic to the CDNs, and the CDNs deliver the video. But being here in this position allows you to see everything that is happening with the users in real time. And with real time, it's really also very important to know what is real time. We have defined real time as around 2 to 3 seconds, so that you should be able to act on a data within 2 to 3 seconds, because then you will be able to mitigate the problem before the end viewer's buffer runs out. And that is real-time action. It's also one benefit of being server-side in the network is that you become totally client and CDN agnostic. You can, of course, take into account all the client data that you have from your various client devices to improve your decision, but you have a solution that is totally client agnostic if you want to. That's
very good. Thank you. Yeah, thanks so much, Peter. Any follow-ups from anyone? That's fine. That actually leads us nicely into the next question. And Ruben, let's talk about how we can take end user analytics and put them into action. How can you take these analytics and help your service avoid customer churn?
I think it's important to collect the right data. I think if you see the complexity from an end user environment, and 75% of all the problems occur in the last mile, yeah. I think it's important to collect the right data to identify, based on different metrics and setups in specific algorithms, yeah, to identify the right customers you need to address. And that's why you need the solution and setup which is connected directly to your customer care setup, that you immediately can act. So meaning you identify from an analytics perspective the customers having a bad user experience, and you translate it and transfer them directly to customer care, that you proactively have the possibility to avoid that these customers are churning. A topic which we always discuss is the QoS and QoE perspective. So real QoE, so there is no solution available in the market giving you a mean opinion score or QoE algorithm which gives you the right overview of the customer. It's always unique, customer by customer, setup by setup, meaning that the QoE, the voice of the customer coming as a data source from a customer care environment, injected into a technical setup, is the match of QoE with QoS. So you have the real QoE. This, in combination with UI, UX, is something where you really see how you can avoid churn, yeah? Meaning not only the technical setup, also the usability of your app, and the feedback also to your engineering team to improve the application performance. I think that's an important topic, and this is how you can avoid churn, yeah? Of course, yeah, from an end-to-end perspective, you need to see also that you have other elements which are providing the right data something like Edgeware is doing with their CDN performance and CDN capabilities. Yeah, a part of also companies like Qligent and SSIMWAVE. I think the combination of all integrated in such a correlation engine to see the user behavior across all the different elements, I think it's a very powerful combination to really avoid the churn on top. Yeah, but it's like I mentioned, having the right data, having the direct connection to customer care gives you the opportunity to avoid churn and to directly connect to the customers which are unsatisfied. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with Ruben. I think that getting the right data from all the right points along the way is critical in understanding the experience of the customers, not just in aggregate, but individually as well. One of the things that we found out with our telco partners is that they were able to identify down to individual users, those users that were suffering from quality of service problems impacting those users, and independent of the local network, independent of the CDN, right down to the household level. Being able to tie that data right back into customer service allows your customer service to be completely proactive, to reach out to that customer and have a discussion about how they might be able to improve the quality of service by just basically having a discussion. Hey, we noticed you're having a problem. Let's talk through it and see if we can fix it. That little bit of investment coming directly from customer service raises your profile in the eyes of the customer. That's a level of service they're not used to getting from a typical provider. And conversely, as a content owner, you want to make sure that you're doing everything possible to ensure that customer is getting what you've marketed to them. If you're a large-scale VOD provider and you said you're delivering 4K and that customer is only getting the lowest level of an AVR stack, you're not delivering 4K. And the customer might be tempted to turn off your premium service or to switch to some other service that is giving them what they're looking for. And this is the gap that we face today, is that for the longest time, television's been defined, entertainment's been defined by this large screen in your living room, where it was easy to quantify how to adjust your QoE in order to maximize the balance between cost and experience. But now we have potentially millions of customers, each of whom have an individual experience, and you need to be able to look deep into that network to decide what is the next best decision that I can make, whether it's being proactive and contacting that customer or making an adjustment upstream, either through a partner or your own systems.
I think this is something, thank you, exactly. Thank you for your comment. The topic is you need to do it for all cross-services setups, meaning all the VOD-related topics and live. So it's not only broadcaster-related topics for live content. I think it's also for the VOD setup, which is very complex, yeah. But it's like I mentioned, automatic setup where you really correlate the data in a fast way, and you have also a possibility to really give suppliers in the end-to-end chain a connection to their data, anonymized, helps you to improve, to automate the processing. Yeah. So ticketing tools in the past is something which is far too slow to avoid the customers are really churning.
Let me show the listeners or viewers a slide. Picture quality is important, and mean opinion score can be measured. This is what Netflix has shown us. They have a metric in the form of VMAF, and they measure picture quality through VMAF, and they also overlay that on the delivery side as well. So I do absolutely believe that mean opinion score and understanding how viewers perceive quality is absolutely possible today. So you can summarize all of that into an actual viewer score that would tell you on a per view basis, not just per viewer basis, on a per view basis, the ability to understand that viewer. So I'll show you a quick proof of that. So here you can see on the slide a whole lot of banding. The gradient, this is annoying, this is not part of the creative intent, creators are not going to be happy. And if you look at the commonly used metrics, including the ones that we invented and they won an Emmy and tens of thousands of citations, all of them fail at really predicting perceptual quality accurately. So that's including VMAP, PSNR, multi-case structure similarity, and structure similarity, that's on the left side. And that's why over the past 10, 15 years, we have been working on really understanding perceptual quality, how humans perceive quality. So that's why we are able to predict it very accurately. So the SIM+ score is 19, which is poor quality, and not only just or bad quality, and not only just that you know through the measurement that there is impairment there, and you can guess, as typically is the approach in QoS, QoE, guess quality. The metric sees or watches like viewers do. So the quality map on the right side, which is specifically looking at banding, it shows where the banding is, and you can really watch like viewers do. So I do think that the technology is at that level where you can really watch it like viewers and understand perceptual quality like they do.
Maybe I can comment that. I think from an in and out perspective, I 100% agree. The topic is if you talk about the complex and big network operator, So we investigated one of the biggest network operators in Europe, and they have up to 1.9 million different types of connections to the end consumer, having different types of networks, different types of elements. Yeah, of course, if you bring in a green pixel, you get the green pixel at the end, but in between, you have all the network performance related topic. So this is something I'm more than happy, Abdul, that we can discuss that in a workshop jointly. I like your solution, but I think it's important to understand also from an end-to-end perspective that the network operator is far more than one single connection. As an example, the network operator we investigated has 44,000 DSLAMs. And I think, the complexity is very high, but I think if we all work together, we will find a solution to move into the right direction.
I just wanted to, Peter Sergeil here, I just wanted to pick up on the discussion there on customer care and customer support, because it's extremely important that they, of course, can see and view the quality and have all the information. But the best thing in the world would be to not have a call to customer care or customer support, because it's really expensive. So if you have the possibility to isolate and identify problems, you can start to automate part of your customer service, and problems that you can mitigate, you should mitigate. And in our survey with Dan Rayburn, as I mentioned before, we saw that 1/3 of the problems are CDN related, and 1/3 of the problems are related to ISP congestions, and 1/3 of the problems are related to bad Wi-Fi at the end user. If you can isolate and identify which type of problem you have greater possibilities of automating your customer care.
Very good summary and overview of that question from a number of different angles. And I think, as Ruben said, it's important, and our speakers are all showing this, that it's important to come at these questions from multiple angles and from multiple perspectives. There's no single solution to the QoE, QoS challenge. Let's talk specifically about optimizing video delivery using advanced QoE metrics. Abdul, you talked a little bit about what SIMWAVE does in your answer, your follow-up to the previous question, but perhaps you could go into that in a little more depth.
Absolutely. So as I said, metric is as good as the actions that you can take off of using that metric. Otherwise, it's just data sitting there, not really serving anything. So you have a number of opportunities available within the delivery chain from one end to another, creation to consumption, to really rely on accurate metrics and complete metrics to start taking decisions in an automated fashion. I have shown on this slide two types of simple decisions, so switches and dials. The switches are, let's say, acquisition stage. I've put a switch there, and then under transcoding and encoding, you have a dial. So let me walk our listeners through and viewers through a couple of examples. So typically you have redundancy built into content delivery chain. So on the broadcasting side, as you're delivering your sources, you're delivering your sources through multiple mediums more often than not, or at least you have different paths. Now these different paths can have different amounts of impairments and issues which could be related to quality service issues or picture quality issues or any other issues. And since these paths are independent, most of the times you can have different types of impairments introduced there. Now, if you have a really accurate and actionable set of quality metrics available, then you can rely on that to do automatic path switching for two purposes. One is solve the problems, quality of service problems, right upstream, because if you don't solve them there, everything is going to propagate from there onwards, and it's only going to get worse from there onwards. The second thing is, if you believe that you are delivering good enough quality on the first version or A path anyways, and B is performing better, then you can switch to B to set yourself up to save significantly on cost. So I'll give you an example. Let's say your path A is at an 85, and you're happy with that quality, and B is at 90. You can switch to a 90, the B path, which is at 90, and then dial down bitrate on the transcoding side to lose 5 points voluntarily there, which would mean many megabits per second per viewer that you can save on the delivery side. So you can unload the delivery network significantly, and you can make sure that the delivery networks and display devices can really manage that load. Then the other option is opportunity that is available is in the form of a dial. So now you have technologies available that we have been working on, or in the industry in general that we have looked at, that measure quality very accurately. But what these technologies do not allow you to do is set at an absolute level the quality that you want to deliver. And that was our target for many, many years, and we are at that point that now we can enable that. So you would dial it to an 85, which is typically what the streaming industry is delivering at the moment. And if you want to deliver that 85 consistently on target, then you can drive your encoding and transcoding to deliver that as consistently as possible. So one is you would take a proactive approach to make sure that you are not a step behind. You're taking a proactive approach to make sure that there are not going to be any problems and there's not going to be any overloading of the networks downstream. But you're also not at the mercy of approaches like content-aware encoding approaches or other approaches to get a wide spectrum of quality without really using an actionable quality metric to drive those decisions. So this is what I was referring to, in the availability of a brain and using that brain to drive switches and dials throughout a delivery chain using a proactive approach. So you are not rushing to fix problems, but you are a step ahead and you're mitigating problems before they even happen.
All right, thanks so much, Abdul. Our next question is for Ruben. Ruben, how can you optimize video delivery, or pardon me, how important is it to combine QoE, quality of experience, with optimizing the user experience, taking those analytics for QoE and then tuning the user experience to improve what they receive?
What we identified in the past is that from a QE, QoS perspective, we had accurate data, so everything was green. Yeah, but we saw that even having attractive and good content, the consumption didn't raise up. So that's why we started to do that user experience setup, the navigation flow and the user experience flow, meaning that we identified, as an example, by judging for customers different client developers, we had the possibility to show the performance from app to app, meaning you can have a lot of different technical values from a QE, QoS perspective, but it doesn't help you to see the evolution from a consumption rate from end users by having a bad app. I give you an example. So we have two operators in the same country. Both of them have the same third-party applications on their service. And the third-party application on one operator side was a consumption rate of 53% of the whole population. On the other side, we had 12% of the users using the third-party application. So what we have done with partners is we investigated the user experience setup, and we changed the complete setup. And it's not changing colors and buttons is changing the navigation flow of the end consumer. And this helps, by matching QE, QoS with UI and UX into one common setup to give the customer and the operator the 360-degree view and overview of the complete user journey. I think it's an important topic that we not only look on the technical value, that we also look on the user behavior and how we can improve the consumption. Yeah.
Thanks, Ruben. Our next question is for Rick, although I believe Ruben at least is going to want to follow up on this one. How can providers better use telemetry and machine learning to improve their service and prevent anomalies? Rick, let's start with you.
Well, one of the things that we've noticed is that the supply chain for any deliverable, especially as it pertains to live broadcast, is incredibly complex. It's complex and it has extremely high demands on performance across the entirety of the system, everything from CPU and memory load to network performance and jitter across the network. And as we move into these diverse and remote locations, whether it's cloud or another facility or doing remote production, it becomes super critical that we're watching all of these systems with very fine-grained resolution to understand which of the systems might be underperforming to your requirements. And it's going back to what Dr. Remen was saying about switches and dials, right? You look at all these systems, you're looking at telemetry, you're making decisions on a constant basis, but you really can't, in these systems are so complex that putting a person in front of them to try to watch, an ever-increasing number of channels becomes a non-functional solution. You really need to find some way to automate the telemetry. You need to be able to take the data, the telemetry that you're getting, and tie it back to how you're going to operate those channels. And there's really two outcomes of that. One is, you're constantly looking to simplify your systems, because if you can pack, multiple microservices or multiple systems into one virtual container that gets deployed into the cloud, then you've got less network to deal with, and therefore the thing becomes a lot more simple to manage. The second aspect of it is understanding how those systems are actually contributing to core value. To go back to the question that Ruben just had about user experience, we're starting to see on the back of COVID an enriching of the environment for these online subscription services. If you look at, for instance, some of the sports, you're seeing a lot more data flow. Traditionally in the past, we saw things like weather networks where, the weather data would get updated for your location once every 10 minutes, which is good enough. But when you're watching a race, you want to see exactly what's happening and with lap times, and you want to see how all these, the performance of your favorite writer or team or whatever it is. And now we start incorporating tons of other systems, right? Data sources, databases, all these different things that we need to bring in. And, the telemetry that these systems produce, which, in the past might have been driven by some polling system with a very low granularity, it just isn't good enough anymore. So we need to, higher sampling rates, higher resolution data, greater monitoring, and higher degrees of automation, so that we can understand how these systems perform best together to meet our cost objectives, but also to meet our end user experience objectives.
I think regarding that topic, in terms of anomalies. So is it regarding the anomalies right now, right? I think it's important, to have something where we have the possibility to have an automated setup, which gives you the possibility to an overview in terms of anomalies of what is happening, that you can create alerts on the fly. And I think that's at the moment the most important topic operators see. And this is something you should do and connect to release and change management procedure from an operator point of view. And you can immediately set up and match from a monitoring guide perspective anomalies.
But it's not just the anomaly part of it. It's also, if you wanted to, for instance, you had some piece of content, call it a sports program, and you wanted to try out two different look packs. You have one which has, a high cost center because it's got, 10 layers of graphics and all kinds of fancy stuff, and it's targeting, traditional large screen environments. And you have another one which is more attuned to a mobile environment, so much less, much lower graphic requirements. Being able to get telemetry from both to understand that, the art of the possible, can I actually run, that 10-layer graphic system reliably in a cloud environment? Can I spin it up, run it, and, have it be reliable for an entire production? Secondarily to that, how do they perform in the end user's eyes? Do the end users really care? If you look at some of the complexity of the systems, then you have to ask yourself, is this really important in order to, keep my subscribers engaged? Is this what they're really looking for? Are they looking for super fancy graphics? Are they looking for more data? Are they looking? And the ability to monitor these things in near real time and to visualize them gives the operator the ability to make, the right decision. And that right decision might have huge impacts on the cost of operating the network or the ability to deliver the experience they're looking for, the customers are looking for.
So coming back to AI and machine learning, use of AI and machine learning, something quickly I want to mention, as adding to what Brick just mentioned, the delivery chain is incredibly complex. And then as another point that Brick made was the content is extremely complex, and there are different layers involved. And then you have the human visual system, which is extremely complex. So when you have so many complex systems interacting with one another, you need to rely on AI and machine learning based applications to drive automated decision making. I think the time has come to start taking proactive approaches as video is scaling and is going to scale tremendously over the coming years. If we want to stay a step ahead, we need to drive these delivery chains in an automated fashion using AI and machine learning.
I agree, and I think it's important also to have an automated setup from an AI and machine learning perspective by using data in combination with your application developer. So the application developer understands clearly the behavior of the application, and with both capabilities, you can manage in an automated way your end user, meaning that the end device and the data flows and rules you're currently defining and learning more and more by getting more and more topics, we have the possibility to interact and to communicate with the end consumer directly, which gives you a big value, reducing the costs in terms of customer care and resolution. Yeah, but I agree with both of you. Yeah, I think the simplicity is not given by having a lot of different devices, a lot of different retentions. Yeah, potentially if you have different headends and different distribution chains, it doesn't help and we can't cope with the complexity anymore. So I think it's important to really work on these AI and machine learning setups. Yeah.
I would equate the difference between where we are with yesterday's systems and where we're going in the future to the way that we've traditionally handled data in large-scale complex systems. So if you look at something like flight control, you have a black box that sits on the plane that's the equivalent of your log, and it's storing everything that ever happened for the last N number of minutes on the plane. And that's the way that we ran our systems in the past. We would go back to that black box and we would troll that for information and try to draw a graph out of it and make some sense. Then you have telemetry, and telemetry is what goes to the air traffic control tower, and it tells you where all your planes are, which is really useful information, but it has its limits, and that's kind of the state of the industry where we're at today. And then you have instrumentation. Instrumentation is the dials and gauges that are moving in real time, and that data's all been, in our world, in the world of computers, we want that data to be normalized. We want it to be accurate against time. We need to be able to correlate against, vast amounts of data. And the more of that data we can get, the better the decisions that we can make. It doesn't, that doesn't say that all the data is useful or valuable, but you got to start with the data lake. You got to start with all the data, and then winnow it down to what's actually going to help you drive the right decision.
Terrific. Our next question is for Peter, and we've got just about 10 minutes left. So want to remind the audience that if you do have questions, please put them in the Q&A or the Ask Question box, and I will ask them to our panelists if we have time at the end of the event. But Peter, how can you assure that real-time QoE and QoS insights result in real-time actions to fix problems before viewers even notice?
Yeah, thank you. We have heard a lot about the QoE from the end user perspective, but it's also very important with QoE from the delivery path perspective. I like the analogy with the flight control system. This is actually a screenshot from our algorithmic session tracker, where the operator can view exactly what is happening second by second in the network. Which devices are the clients on? What are they watching? Which country are they in? Which region? Which city? Which ISP are they on? Which CDN are they on? Is it something good or bad that is happening? And of course, you can sit and watch all this data just coming along and try to identify and isolate problems yourself. Seeing that, for instance, like this next screenshot, you have found out that, okay, maybe these problems are related to a specific region in your network. So coming back to the previous question of using machine learning, we've found a way to correlate all these metrics to find common denominators in the delivery path to see if there are certain points in the network that you should avoid. And of course, you cannot do this by hand or by man. You need to have algorithms calculating all of these parameters, correlating them with each other, but also with external data. It could be weather affecting problems or certain content that is not working and so on. But there you need to implement machine learning tools in order to be able to act fast enough before these buffers run out, so that the users even notice that there is a problem.
So I think it's what Nice People at Work as an example is doing to actually do things in real time, because we are managing and monitoring everything in real time, is that we give so-called multi-tenant and child accounts to all the existing suppliers that they can see their data in real time, which gives you the possibility to really fix problems in a complete new way of working instead of using ticketing systems and stuff like that. I think this is an important topic, and this is something you do with the video analytics provider or network operators, so network manufacturer providers. So I think that's an important topic, that you really have the possibility in a, let's call it multi-tenant setup, provide data to all the existing suppliers, which reduces the time of resolution.
Yeah, and it's also really important not only to have all the data in real time, but also have an automation system that acts upon the data.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right, our last question before we move on to audience questions is for Abdul. Abdul, how can you deliver consistent viewer experiences as your OTT service starts to scale across the globe? That's obviously a huge challenge right now. We all have seen the numbers about how COVID has increased the number of subscriptions to VOD services, whether SVOD or AVOD. And of course, more and more of those services are looking at expanding beyond the geographic region in which they started. So talk about that consistency of viewer experience as these services scale and get larger and move into different geographical regions.
Absolutely, yeah. So consistency is absolutely important. Delivering a standard product across viewers or subset of viewers across content or subset of content can be critically important in this day and age. Having said that, looking at the way we want to tackle this, if you look at this slide, instead of using the conventional ways of looking at resource allocation, such as bitrate, and driving everything accordingly, you may not get consistent experience because bitrate and other metrics do not necessarily correlate with perceptual quality. Even if you use, on top of that, some advanced approaches, state-of-the-art approaches that are out there, let's say content-aware encoding, that are only trying to steal bits and not really impact experience. So essentially what they do is this content is less quote-unquote complex, let's try and steal more bits from here because you're not going to get a lot of a big drop in quality. When you take approaches like that, you don't really change the spectrum when it comes to your content, and you still get a wide range of quality scores. So this is a typical spectrum that we see working with customers. So you have anywhere from 40-ish to 90-something experience that they deliver across their libraries. And then typically customers try to steal bits from every one of these assets based on complexity, which makes the problem not any better. And on top of that, you have additional demand on the systems as far as video delivery is concerned. So our solution to this problem is to actually drive different components of a delivery chain, such as transcoding or encoding and delivery based on your experience. So at the end, what you want is something like this, where everything is on that target experience. And essentially what we have done here, is move those blocks from 40, 50, 60, 70 on 80, and you have used the ones that were at 95, and so to take care of that problem. So the solution comes for free. You don't have to spend any additional bandwidth in terms of achieving that. And now if you have actually some gain to have, so you can convert the orange block into a green block and save a significant amount of dollars. Or you can say, I can afford to spend or deliver a higher experience and use the bits used by the orange block to move the whole thing towards right. So the secret is this, or the recipe is this. There needs to be a viewer experience-based dial that takes into account all the details, and that dial moves a subset of your assets or channels together to a quality level. So if you're scaling faster than you are expecting and you don't have the resources or the cost is too high, you can dial down the experience and go from 80 to 75. And if you think that you want to deliver a higher experience to a subset of viewers or all the viewers, you can dial it up from 80 to 85. This way, you can scale in a fashion that would keep your customers, and you would make sure that you're keeping your cost as low as possible, because using these approaches not only get you to deliver, not only you deliver a consistent experience on target, you save significantly on bitrate as well. And you don't need to change your infrastructure. You can use your existing AVC encoders or HEVC encoders to deliver these additional capabilities.
Anyone else have anything to follow up with regarding the challenges that go along with scaling, both in numbers and to new geographical regions? All right, then we have time
to the
for...
Canadian question.
Go ahead.
Was this relating to the Canadian question?
No, it was, the last question for Abdul was regarding delivering a consistent viewer experience as services start to scale across the globe. But I do think that since we do have a question from a Canadian broadcaster, that it may be worth looking at that topic a little more and wrapping things up with that, if everyone's okay with that. The question was, we are a small regional broadcaster in Canada. We're number one last week in our market, so we have a lot of viewers swinging towards our streamed content. Are your solutions, and this applies to everyone on the call, tuned only to enterprise global applications, or can they be used for in applications such as this one, where the broadcaster has only cleared digital rights for a particular region for live and across Canada on demand. So maybe we could wrap up by talking about that. Peter, since you asked the question, did you want to chime in on that?
I just wanted to comment that this is the benefit of working with cloud solutions, that they are extremely scalable, and you only pay for what you use. So if you are a small provider, you pay for the volume that you have, and you select the amount of streams that you want to monitor and measure and act upon. So it's extremely scalable solutions that can be optimized for any type of size customer.
Yeah, it's, let me add that. So it doesn't matter which cross vertical or industry vertical you are. Yeah. So it also doesn't matter the size. Yeah. I think if you have an application which is consuming video, you have the possibility to measure the consumption, which devices, which regions. So I think that's something which most of the applications are capable to do. Yeah. And our solution can do that.
All right,
yeah,
and
I agree.
Brick, yeah.
Yeah, it's not a matter of scale. It's more a matter of, you know, where you're trying to drive the business. You know, the fact that you get to number one in your market means that you have an opportunity to scale up in all of the things that everybody on the call has talked about. You know, gathering up more data, being more precise with the data, gathering it more in real time, analyzing that data, and coming up with proactive direction. You know, what should you do next to both improve your delivery and manage your costs. Those are the kinds of things that are available. It just, you know, and it's independent of, you know, how big you are.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have here today. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us today on the call, and I'd like to thank our speakers, Ruben from Nice People at Work, Peter from Edgeware, Brick from Qligent, and Abdul from SIMWAVE. If you'd like to review this event or send a colleague to view it, it will be archived for 90 days, and you'll receive a follow-up email letting you know when the archive is available. Also, if you asked a question and we didn't have time to answer it today, one of our speakers, or perhaps all of them, will get back to you with a response to your question after the event. Finally, just for attending today's event, you're entered to win a $100 Amazon gift card. The winner will be selected on January 29th, and we will reach out to you via email to claim your prize. That wraps up today's webinar. Thanks for joining us, and have a great day.